Okay, welcome. Fresh set of downs. My gosh, we are doing a week 9 recap. I mean, where has the regular season
Mm.
gone? Nobody seems to know, but got a big show for you tonight. We're going to have coaches, we're going to have reporters, we're going to have recruiting, we're going to have training. And Dave, I'll tell you what, Dave Mika from Eastern PA Football, why don't you introduce a couple of our guests that we've got right now?
Yeah, we have our District 1 writer, Owen McHugh. Welcome. And we also have assistant coach, Gary Morrison from Lampeter Stroudsburg. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Gary.
Thank
Unfortunately, I
you.
guess your head coach Vic Rittenauer had some or conflict or whatever like that, but really wanted to talk to you guys, especially right now. My gosh, undefeated, going into the final week of the season. Talk a little bit about the ride that it's been for Lampeter Strasburg this year, and have you achieved the goals maybe that you set out, or what's left?
Well, we don't say the U word around here too often, so it's the old "look, he's throwing a no hitter" remark that we don't talk about. But no, we set some goals early in the season. It was to be coming into week 10 with a game that had some meaning. I think 2 years ago we went to YO with a shot at the section on a very similar boat. So we want to be back there again week 10. So we're pretty excited for this one. Yeah, we're pretty pumped up.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so you're 9-0 heading into week 10, got a big game against Wyatt missing. Um, What has stood out for you this year that may have surprised you, this season?
Yeah, so we joke as a staff. We came out of training camp, quote unquote, with a lot of question marks and a lot of concerns. But these guys stepped up. I mean, a lot of these guys have been waiting their turn. They played behind some tough kids. Danny Weichler's the guy that stands out, standing behind Drexton Frank. Don Brown out of the backfield is behind John Mellinger. Caleb House behind Wagner. So these guys have really waited their turn and they've been chomping at the bit and they're ready to go. But early on we had a tough schedule, and I think that's hats off to coach. I thought the dude was crazy when he told me in non-league I wanted to quit. So you'd be kidding me. But Open Slanko, it's always fun. The milk jug. Um, we played well to played pretty well to win it. Still gave a ton of yards to that offense, pretty tough. But then we got Warwick, really tough physical game. And then of course Cocalico, who always going to beat you up. So those three games I think really helped us understand what we need to work at and how we got to get to where we want to be. Come week 9, 10, we knew Twin Valley and Y were coming down the gauntlet at us, so we had to get ourselves ready.
Yeah, and every time that I talk to Coach Wolfram, obviously over at Wyomissing, he always tells me that they have the best home field advantage because nobody wants to play on Saturday. Now,
Yeah.
how
Plus, it
difficult
helps that
is it?
the field's named after the dude. I mean, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. I mean, I can't even get mail delivered to the right house, and he's got a whole field named after him. So yeah,
But
that's definitely a thing.
how difficult is it to kind of reconfigure, your whole pregame, routine? I imagine, from an X's and O's perspective, it's okay, but just,
Yeah.
physically and emotionally, how do you get to that, frothing at the mouth feeling on a Saturday morning?
Well, I mean, if you can't get up for a Week 10 section title game, I don't know if you're playing the right
Mm.
sport. So that'll take care of itself. But yeah, the logistics of it, we've got everything coming. So we took a look at the weather report because it's a grass field. We learned the 222s and we shut down on the way there. So we're like,
Wow.
do we leave a little earlier? Like we want to have all the stuff that we can think of ahead of time to get us there. But we went there 2 years ago. We kind of just keep the same schedule. Like we should know what to do schedule wise, and our kids are ready to play, so not have to worry about that. But yeah, like the when do we eat breakfast? Do we eat another meal? Like all that stuff. Yeah, it's definitely something to worry about and to think about. But we tell our kids, look, if you want to play at the next level, you play Saturdays. So treat this as as your college game and let's go.
Hmm.
So they're ready to go.
Oh, and you got a question for Coach?
Well, just kind of this time of year, anything different? Can the kids feel it at all, kind of as these games, the importance increases?
Oh yeah, I mean, a program like LS and Y Missing and Twin Valleys. I mean, we all have expectations, and there's always that target on your back. So we tell them every week, you want to get every team's best. Um, but the main thing, and I think it's the mainstream now, is taking care of your bodies, right? Like I think as coaches, we've gotten smarter how we practice. Like we don't need to be knocking heads 4 days a week anymore. We know who our kids are. It's those mental reps and spending more time in the classroom doing the huddle work and doing all the stuff that meant to prepare them as much as physically. And then obviously make sure they're taking care of their bodies. Like we got hit with the sick bug, like most teams do, right? And one guy gets sick and then they all start getting sick. But we've gotten through that a bit. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, just staying on top of their grades, stay on top of their grades, stay on top of their schoolwork, and understanding that the pressure's on them, right? They got schoolwork, they got all this stuff. So we communicate with our kids and make sure that they're feeling good. If they have any concerns, we take care of them.
Dave, you got another question?
Yeah, looking at your schedule, you had some big wins this year. Were you able to get some of the younger guys in and get them experience as the season went on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Coach Ridenhour and I as our point. I don't know the polite way to say this, but sometimes the score gets a little out of hand, and number one is we don't want to embarrass any opponents. I don't think it's
Hmm.
it's good for anybody in that standpoint. And two, it gets our young guys work. They're getting game reps that way like a Dom Brown at Caleb House,
Hmm.
Danny Weichler, when it's Friday night, they've already gotten some reps their sophomore, junior year. It's not as big of a whoa. And lastly, it's the reward to those young kids that work their butt off on scout all week long, giving you good looks. They play Monday, they come back to practice Tuesday. They're getting the snot knocked out of them a few times. So like it's a good bone to throw those young kids. Say, hey, look, if you want to get in, we need a good look. Um, and they do it. So yeah, it's definitely helped our program. Um, you look at teams like the Y Missings and all those teams, they get the chance to get their young guys in, and it definitely shows up.
There was a
Excellent.
big change in the area, and now you're kind of in the second rotation now of the, larger Lancaster Lebanon League. Um, what has been probably the single biggest either difficulty or change, for you as you've incorporated all these other teams from Berks League and now that you have 5 sections?
Yeah. The funny thing is, so I grew up in the Yellow League. I played high school ball in the Yellow League. I've lived here my whole life. So when you get a chance to get in the public, and people are like, who the hell do you even play anymore? I don't know half these teams. And it's like, well, they're from the Berks. It's this county above us. Have you ever heard of that? And some people are like, oh, it's too far of a drive. I'm not going. So, but you definitely get more competition. You see a lot more film of guys. You see different stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, you kind of settle in, and you get a week to prepare. So football's football. Team X is Team X. Then whoever you're playing, you're playing. But it sure is. It's been wild. I mean, it's just the teams you see, and it's pretty cool.
Well, good. Glad to hear that. I tell you what, Gary, we appreciate your time tonight. Obviously, getting ready for a big section championship game against Wyomissing
Yeah.
this Saturday.
Whew.
Gosh, it does not get any better than that, I'm sure.
Not
I'm
for
sure
us.
everybody's really excited. I'm sure the school's all excited. And, you know, uh, it's always 1-0, so we won't talk about anything, down the road. But
Thank you.
obviously, you are going to be playing in the next couple of weeks as well. So hopefully our paths will cross, and we'll
Absolutely.
see you obviously in the district playoff. So
Great.
best
Looking
of
forward to
luck,
it.
and
Thanks
Yeah.
a lot, guys.
we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you for
Thanks a
coming
lot.
on.
You bet. Thanks
All
for
right,
having me.
Gary, just go ahead and exit out there.
Yep.
All right.
All
Good,
right.
good guy. I've stopped asking that question about, you know, beyond that
Yeah.
next game. I mean, you
It's
did the
it's
right thing.
this week.
Looking back at the season is great. Looking forward, I mean, LS and Why Missing are not only playing for the Section 4 championship, but this is for number one seed in 4A in District 3. And
Yeah.
that's just ginormous because District 3 plays with the power rankings. The team who's got the number one seed has home field advantage throughout. And that's huge, Dave, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a big game no matter what. And, to end the regular season with that game, great game to go, if you're in the area, go see that one. It's gonna be a
Well,
good one.
Saturday afternoon,
Yeah,
there's not a lot of other, high school competition for games. Saturday, it used to be called the A Field, just as Gary mentioned. Now it's Bob Wolfram Field.
yeah,
And it's a pretty special place to go and watch a football game. You and I both know that. And if you ever get
yeah.
an opportunity, why I'm missing is one that you definitely want on the bucket list. So, but Owen, I'll tell you what, you're pretty much handling District 1 for us this year. What are some of your, overriding, thoughts on District 1, this season?
Yeah, so wedding season took a dip into my this fall, but as happens to a young man in their late 20s. But I've actually got to see
Yeah.
four of the top five teams in District One. It's a lot of the same names from last year actually. CB South, Downtown West, CB West, Perk Valley, are all kind of names that have been up there for a while now. Undefeated CB South. They got a dual threat quarterback, Owen Pickerton, who's got
Hmm.
on pace for 1,000 and 1,000.
Yeah.
They look like the team to beat, but I mean, two of the teams in their conference, CB West and North Penn, have played them tough this year. So it kind of seems like it should be a really fun tournament. There's not really anyone who's separated themselves from the pack at the 6A level.
And why don't we just go ahead and I'm going to pull up the power rankings, and we'll just take it from there uh, uh, on uh, on that. So let me go ahead and do this screen share, and there we go. So you guys can probably see now the District 1 power rankings. And as you talked about, we'll start here with the 6A side. um CB South, you talked about that. This is a team that also is kind of riding the momentum from last year
Mhm.
too, correct? I mean, they were, there didn't they have their first District 1 championship in school history last year? And they're just kind of riding on emotion. How much more emotion do you think is left in that CB South tank?
They've got a lot of guys back. A lot of guys back on defense and the skill positions on offense. Yeah, I mean, again, when the top teams, the other top teams in District One right now are the rivals, so I don't really think they need much to get going. Yeah,
And
and that's an area that loves its football over in Bucks County.
yeah, the interesting
Absolutely.
thing is Downingtown West. I did happen to be at their only loss against Bishop Shanahan, which was
Yeah.
quite the game.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody else, it seems to be, I don't want to call it a mosh pit, but it just seems to be very, very competitive between everybody else. So for me, and obviously, I mean, I've done a few District 1 games, but it looks to me that home field advantage in the playoffs is going to mean an awful lot in this tournament. What do you think?
It certainly could. I watched that same Downingtown West team this weekend, and it was a one score game, but they looked really really good against a physical Coatesville team on their home field,
Hmm.
and bounced back nicely. Yeah, obviously, kind of any familiarity, kind of with football, it's different than other sports. You don't have a lot of guys that have been there before because you're so upperclassmen heavy usually. So I would imagine that kind of familiarity definitely helps. That student section helps this time of year.
And every year it seems a lower seed knocks off a higher seed in this 6A bracket. Who's gonna be that team this year? Like you said, Coatesville has played
Yeah.
Downington West real tough, and depending on what shakes out after this week, you might get that matchup right from the, day one of the district, 6A playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see, especially these teams that might have just played that other team,
Yeah.
not too long ago.
The downtown East, downtown West play this weekend. That downtown East team sitting kind of closer to the bottom of the power rankings, but they were a district semifinalist last year. They just
Yeah.
beat Bishop Shanahan pretty handily last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a team I could see making some noise, and a lot of those other teams, some of them can really throw the ball around. I've seen Neshaminy and PW can
Hmm.
throw some different elements at you too, and that could obviously give certain teams some matchups. You hit a couple big plays and switch the games. So yeah, there's not like Bruce mentioned. I think the margin you're not seeing a dominant team this year. Obviously,
Hmm.
CB South as undefeated team would be the favorite, but the margin between these teams seems like there's going to be some really fun games.
Yeah.
But good stuff. Let's move on down to 5A here now. And, Strathaven, and we'll see a little bit later on in my power ranking. I have them actually breaking into my 5A, 6A power rankings in Eastern PA football. Strathaven just looks like they are on a mission this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I got to see them pretty early on. And that backfield of Shane Green and James
Oof.
Fisher can really get going. Obviously, like they've been there before too. Um, yeah, they can really dominate a team. They have some big boys up front. They know what they're going to run. They're crisp in what they do, and yeah, I definitely will be tough to knock off.
Yeah, I think that combo's over 2,000 yards combined rushing, over 30 touchdowns.
Yeah,
There's no secret what they want to do, and that's run the ball.
Green's been doing it for years too, and yeah, no one's really had an answer for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rustin's only loss, I think, is the Downingtown West, right? Um, or
That it's interesting because the way the chess bounce set up this year. But yeah, I mean, obviously they've shown their might against decent competition as well. There's you can't really take anything away from an 8-1 campaign they're putting up.
Yeah,
and again, oh,
and
go ahead,
there's a
Dave.
big matchup this week with Strathaven and Delco, which we'll be covering this week. That's a huge matchup, Owen.
Yeah, yeah. I really Central Leagues different styles, right? I think Springfield really likes to kind of toss the ball around, so that could be
Yeah,
fun. Who gets the other one more uncomfortable?
absolutely.
And Chester kind of hanging around in the middle of the pack. I
Yeah,
mean, their only loss is to Imhotep at home. I mean, come on.
so their strength of schedule, I think, dings them in the PowerPoints. But I mean, certainly that Imhotep result and them being the runner up last year, I would have them probably as your number two in my power rankings. They've
Yeah.
shown what they can do when they get hot last year. They lost Dom Toy, I know, to UConn, but they still have some of those fun skill guys back. And they have some big time players that have postseason experience as well. So yeah, I would ignore that number 7 next to their name, but there's some other good teams ahead of them too.
Yeah, they seem to play well on the road. Even nobody wants to play at exit 6, but uh, I don't think anybody is interested in seeing them. And the 4A, my oh my, Pope John Paul II and Bishop Shanahan in the 4A bracket here have some pretty stellar wins, don't they?
Yeah, those I would and Springfield Monco played Shanahan tough in the opener, I believe, this year
Yeah.
too. They have some explosive guys. PJP plays Perk Valley in the Pioneer Athletic Conference Championship this week. That'll be a good measuring stick test for them heading into this. I'm not sure how much it will affect the rankings here. But yeah, all those teams have shown they could beat big time programs. That's pretty stacked 4A field for District 1. I think all of them probably think they're capable of winning a district championship and making a run. So that should
Yeah,
be
I
fun.
think I think Springfield against Pope John Paul only lost by a touchdown, and
Yep.
then they lost to Plymouth Whitemarsh. So that was, I think, their two losses.
I saw them look really good and explosive against Lower Moreland. I know that their coach thinks they have some guys that are scholarship athletes, and when they're all when they have some big playability. That again, I think that's the kind of thing this time of year. If you have that big playability, and maybe not the guys in the trenches, that can kind of turn a game your way, and get some other teams playing out of their style.
Yeah, and 1A Morrisville has kind of risen up to you know kind of put their head or put their hat in the PIAA ring. And that and obviously Owen, doing a little projecting here at the moment. We're getting ready, obviously, districts or whatever like that. Who are some of the guys? Obviously District 1 always has the issue of, the 800-pound gorilla of the Philadelphia Catholic League, and you know, that's staring right at him. Do you think that this is the year maybe that, District 1 can kind of get over the hump and get a team to Cumberland Valley?
I haven't seen any of the Catholic League's teams in person, and I haven't got my eyes on CB South this year. But I mean, there's definitely some experience. So I don't think those teams will be impacted by the moment at all. And that matchup.
Yeah, Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone knows that, whoever comes out at District 12 is a heavy favorite to get to Cumberland Valley. So in the East, could someone from District 11 do it? Eventually District 1. Right now my money's on District 12 to make it to Cumberland Valley, but who's it going to be? Is it going to be Prep to defend their title? Is it going to be LaSalle? Could LaSalle beat Prep twice this year? Or Emotep waiting in the wings for one of them to play? It's going to be interesting to see in the next 2, 3 weeks how it all shakes out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and listen, man, a long time ago in a place far, far away. I still remember the first time you and I met, and it's a pleasure, working with you and what have you. I love your
Yeah.
stuff, and we appreciate everything you do, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to change of pace, doing a little pigskin instead of hoops.
Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate it. You're doing a great job and have fun out there and enjoy the wedding.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All
All
right.
right.
Take
Hey,
care,
talk
Owen.
to you
All right. You
later.
can just exit out there, and Dave and I will carry on. Wow. Okay. Um, Yeah, I tell you, Owen's a
Good
great
stuff.
guy, and he's
Yeah.
got a lot of great teams to follow there in District 1.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of good games and talking about that the Delco versus Strathaven game. Joe will be at that game for us this week.
Uh-huh.
Huge game and stuff, but yeah.
Well, good. I'm hoping that Andrew Cohen can join us there at the top of the hour, and
Okay.
that. So we'll see if Andrew's going to join us. But in the meantime, Dave, why don't we go ahead and just kind of get things started here
Yeah.
with our a weekly review here, and there we go. How about that? And we want
There
to
we go.
thank our two new supporters, Get Recruited
Yep.
Consulting, our buddy Andrew Cohen, as well as Coach Tools as well. And they're going to be carrying on the rest of the year with our podcast. And also, we'll be supporting our efforts over at Cumberland Valley, Dave, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're two of our sponsors for our statewide brackets, which will be coming out next week. and we're excited to have them on and excited to have them on the show and kind of, they could talk about what they do with coach tools and get recruiting. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrew, I've known for a while. Actually, Andrew and I
Yeah.
did a few podcasts together.
Yep.
Um, and then Justin with the coach tools there. This is a brainchild that he's utilizing to make coaches much more efficient in their
Hmm.
evaluations of players as well. So pretty amazing stuff here. And we'll have both Andrew and Justin on to talk about their products as we go along.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of these games of note from last week. Um, and Owen touched a little bit on CB South
Yeah.
and that, but Owen Pinkerton, as he talked about, just
Oof.
he's a machine. I mean,
He, you
um,
know, 2 touchdowns in that game, threw for another, and they were down 7-0 early, and CB South ran off 35 straight points to win 35-7. But, the story of the game was Owen Pinkerton, rushing for touchdowns, throwing for another. I mean, the
mhm.
kid could do it all. And um, they're right where they were last year. And they want to get into this districts and try to defend that title.
Well, I think we've got Andrew with us, so we're going to
Okay.
go ahead and bring him on in here and see if we can't get Andrew Cohen from Get Recruited Consulting. And that, and well, I don't know. Not entirely sure if that was Andrew or not. Andrew, that you?
No, I'm actually Daryl's sister.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, good. Is Daryl going to be joining us in the program?
I'm not sure. I saw that he had the first set of down, so I was trying to hop on just in case I could catch part of it.
Okay, well, what you need to do is actually go to like our YouTube channel and
Okay.
watch it that way, Melody.
Oh, okay.
It would be the way to go. And then Daryl will pop on, through his thing there. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and exit out, and
All
then
right. Thank
we'll get
you.
Daryl on in a little bit. Thanks,
Okay.
Melody.
See ya.
All right. See you.
All right, bye now.
Hey, you never know who comes on the show, right?
That is true. I mean, I put that in the obviously the thing there, and yes, absolutely. So we'll get back to our analysis here. Very nice to meet Melody, and
Yeah.
Daryl will be joining us here after 8 o'clock. But um, yeah, that CB South, the Chamonix, that was pretty incredible. Let's talk about Scranton Prep,
Ooh.
Jersey Shore. Scranton Prep has yet to lose a game to a Pennsylvania team, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, story of the game, their quarterback, Lewis Paris, 3 touchdowns rushing, had a huge game in the fourth quarter. Um, you know, yeah, they just week after week they just keep winning, and that was a big game, Scranton Prep versus Jersey Shore. Big win by Scranton Prep, and they look like they are you know, kicking in all gears heading into districts.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Conestoga Valley 28,
Oof.
Exeter Township 27. What an incredible game. These were two undefeated 5A opponents, conference foes, section foes. Exeter scores on the last play of the game. Coach Matt Bauer decides to go for two.
Yeah.
There's an excruciating after they run the play. There's kind of an excruciating amount of time waiting for the officials to make a decision. They called the point no good, and Conestoga Valley comes away with the win. Dave, wow.
Yeah, and I've seen some pictures on Twitter about that, and it was a tough call because it could have easily gone either way. Tremendous win for Conestoga Valley. They stay unbeaten. And what can you say? Hats off to them.
Mhm.
Now they're going into week 10, 9-0, and I think they play Muhlenberg. So yeah,
Yeah, pretty
they have a
interesting.
chance to I think clinch first place in section 2, if I'm right.
That's correct. And now we've
Yep.
got Andrew
Okay.
going to join us. Andrew Cohen from GetRecruitedConsulting.com, getting ready to join us here on Fresh Set of Downs. Andrew and I go way back, and there he is.
Hey, there he is.
How we doing, guys?
Good. How
Good,
you doing?
good. Where are
So
you tonight?
I'm having problems with my computer, so I had to do it on the phone. I don't know why, guys, but I have.
That's
Dave,
okay.
I think
How's
what
that
Dave
picture
had
right there? Is that okay?
You're
yeah, that's
fine.
perfect. Yeah,
You're
Dave
fine.
had to had the same problem. He actually had to like take it totally down and reload it, right, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
to get it if it's been on there a while. But look at this guy, man. You're looking good. You've dropped some weight. I mean, look at this man. He's all over social media. Andrew Cohen with Get Recruited Consulting and supporting Eastern PA football and that. So pretty crazy. And we talk about recruiting all the time. Andrew, for the fans out there, what are some of the obviously the single biggest differences that you can provide with Get Recruited Consulting that a lot of the other recruiting services don't?
Sure. So, first of all, I was a college football coach myself for 22 years. I was fortunate to coach at schools in the Ivy League like Columbia University. Then in the Patriot League, I was at Bucknell and Fordham. I was in the CAA at Stony Brook, and then at Division III level, I was in the NESCAC, New England Small School Athletic Conference. I was a head coach at Hamilton. I was a defensive coordinator at Bowdoin. I do think that's unique that myself and then all 5 other guys that work with me were all former college football coaches, and I think that's a big deal. It gives us the best connections in the business. When people hire us, we're able to directly reach out to the college coaches. They trust us. They know that we're honest. We're only going to give them good players that fit the profile of their program, and they give us real answers and they give us a real evaluation. Part of the process right now is trying to find out where your son is. So, like tonight, anyone listening to the show can call me, text me, email me. I'll give you a film evaluation for free. It's a professional evaluation, but it's also an honest one. And I think that's important. But we are unique in that we are going to directly reach out to the college coaches. And most companies are not going to do that. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of contacts. But we're going to post our student athletes on social media, with Twitter being the #1 resource for colleges to find initially the student athletes. But we're going to call them on their cells. We have over 3,000 cells. We have every email address on every coach in the country, every work number, every Facebook. So, what's going on here? You're losing me. Are you guys taking me out of the picture?
And well, what I did is I'm pulling up your website here. Yeah, I decided to pull up your website here, so you can talk, over, your website here.
My only
Um,
problem here, Coach Badge. Coach Badge, by the way, Coach Badge is the best. He's one of my favorite people of all time. But one of my problems, though, right now is there's 3 of us on, and there's no question I'm the best looking of the 3. So I don't know why you would ever want to take me off. No, but in all seriousness, I started this business 11 years ago. I wanted to be unique, and unique meant using my resources, my contacts, and the staff's contacts eventually that I now have. There's 6 of us, to be able to call college coaches, text them, direct message them on Twitter, email them, hit it from every angle. So it's a tireless effort. But we're also going to work on development for the student athletes. Development meaning we're going to be on a call with them either every week or every other week, and we're working on keeping track of their diet, their lifting, their running, their stretching, their academics. If a student is only an average to below average student, then we're going to get them a guy on our staff, Craig Cox. He runs one of one life skills, and he's going to give 16 sessions of time management, study skills, and test preparation. So with all this being said, we are going to make it easy. We're going to develop, we're going to market, and then we're going to place the student athletes at the best colleges possible. We're going to be able to give you the best opportunity, but we are going to be honest up front of what level is realistic to start, and then what you would need to do in order to play at a higher level, whether it's get bigger, stronger, faster, or your grades or whatever it might be. So sorry if I got long-winded, but it's not an easy process. And I feel like everything going on with whether it's the portal, whether it's all this NIL money, whatever, it's making it more and more complicated, and there's more and more kids out there trying to get recruited. So if you don't have a valuable resource like Coach Cohen to get recruited, you can get lost in the shuffle. So and you definitely don't want that to happen. There is a lot of good players out there that get lost, and we would never want that to happen. And that's why we're proud of our 100% placement rate. Every kid we've worked with has had an offer to play at schools. So
Yeah,
That's
that's pretty
fantastic.
incredible. And and that's the whole reason why, quite honestly, I reached out to Andrew, years ago, is because I saw him at one of his camps that he was running. And the way he approached, recruiting was one that I felt was the best approach, for young athletes and
thank
that.
you.
So it's been great, and it's we're looking forward to continuing on, and through the postseason, and then all the way through to Cumberland Valley and the state championships. You're working with us to support our broadcast, so we'll try and have you on each and every week, Andrew. We'll get a topic for next time. This is just kind of the introduction, and then next time we'll pick a topic and do a brief presentation that way.
Yeah, so what I'd like to offer, like I said, is a free film evaluation where we can also not only go over your film, but answer all your questions. Please give me a call for a free appointment. Would love it to be with the student athlete and with at least one of the parents. My phone number is 570-428-2872. That's my cell. I'm always sharing it with everyone. And then on the website, you can check us out at getrecruitedconsulting.com. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I appreciate to be, the opportunity to be on your show, and would love to, expand and do anything we can to help these young student athletes reach their dreams, and also give them the necessary information that they need.
All right.
Definitely send me that information so I could tweet it out. I think it's great information. And what I take what you say is these kids aren't just another number. You really go beyond to help each individual, and each individual is different. And whether they need help in class or lifting or stuff like that. I really like that, you look at everything
Yeah, so
about
every
them.
kid right now, this is new, but with Coach Cox, every kid under a 3-4, we're pushing that they need to use his academic supporting system. And I don't charge extra for that. I include it because if my job is easier when I make you a better product, when I help you become a better product, but we want to have the highest grades possible, be the biggest, fastest, strongest, most flexible. Most of our kids, we give them a flexibility program for their hips and their ankles, which I think is valuable for sure. But I'm here, if someone wants to call and they just have questions, I'm not going to push you and say, "Oh, it's been 10 minutes or 50." I'm probably going to go too long-winded, but I want to help people. This is a successful business that I love, and we're doing great. As we grow, I hire more people. No one on our staff will ever work with more than 30 clients in a year. But we want to, obviously we want to be successful, but to me, I define successful as how much we develop a student athlete, and then what kind of opportunities are we able to help them get. That's what we want to do. It's not about how much money we can make.
Yeah.
And I can vouch for that 100%. So, all right, my friend. Hey, good to see you. And we'll have our regular segment on Fresh Set of Downs each week.
That sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thanks a lot for joining, Xander.
Thank you.
Just go ahead and exit out, Chief.
All righty. Bye now.
See you later. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
There
All
we
right,
go.
there we go. So yeah, I tell you what, Andrew, been a great guy, and good relationship with him, and
Yeah.
the kind of guy that you really want to be associated with. That's for sure. So
Yeah, and I like what he says, these kids aren't just a number, and he's gonna be dead honest. But listen, all his staff has coached college, football, so that's huge.
And the
And
same thing with Coach Cox. He talked about Craig Cox, his academic
yeah,
guy. Craig was a D2 defensive coach as
yeah,
well. These are all top flight guys, and
yeah.
I'm really proud that the show's associated with it. So, all right, well, let's get back to our
I
the rundown
think
here
I
as
think
as we
we're at
wait for the next
Easton
guest.
Freedom.
As we yeah. Right. Talk about Easton and Freedom.
It's funny is I've been on Keith Roller's radio show throughout the year. And every time we go on, we kept saying, "Is Easton back? Is Easton back?" Well, guess what? They're back. Um, Seneca has done a tremendous job. The kids believe in his philosophy. Um, no better atmosphere than Easton. And 2 weeks in a row, they had to travel to Bethlehem Stadium and they came away with wins, none bigger than this past weekend against Freedom and 25-21 win. Tremendous win by the program. Their two running backs, Thomas, Wilday. Um, Big games. Thomas had, I think, 3 touchdowns in this game. Yeah, Easton's back. They're going to finish the season against Nazareth, which won't be easy, but I have a feeling Easton, they win this game, they're going to end up as the number one seed where they are right now going into districts.
Wow, good stuff. And I'm betting that's Daryl Daniel.
Yeah, if you're a betting man, you done won some money.
All right. Where's the video? We want to see this
All right,
guy.
let me. I gotta get my
I
readers
see
out.
iPad.
All right, let me see. You see. Oh, what did I do wrong here? Let's see. All right, video. There we go.
There you go.
And there he is.
There he
There's that
is.
There we go.
50-year-old guy.
There we go. I had to go get the readers.
That 50-year-old former co-host here, Fresh Set of Downs, Daryl Daniel, man. I tell you what, thanks for tagging me on that thing the other week about that journey
Oh
of
yeah.
getting to 50. I mean, I kind of raced past you there, but how you doing, my man?
No complaints. Life is good. I can't complain at all.
Wow, really, really great stuff. You kind of set the table for our conversation today here, because obviously you're Mr. Trainer Extraordinaire with these players, working with them off season, in season, and now as the season kind of winds down, what do these guys need to do, not only for the players whose season is ending, but these guys now that have the most important games of the season coming at the end of the year when their bodies are kind of beat up? How do those guys, kind of manage and take care of their bodies?
Yeah, well, we talk about that often. I think like Saturdays and Sundays are very crucial for those guys because I think they need to get into some type of recovery. I got my buddies over at Restore, Andy and the Palombos. They do a great job over there, and that team does a great job over at Restore. But
And that's cryogenic therapy, right?
yeah, cryotherapy. Yep. So they have every possible thing you can use for an athlete, whether it's recovery, whether it's compression, whether it's IVs. They got the hyperbaric chamber. They got the red light therapy, but everything you possibly need for an athlete, that's what you need to do. Because once you start getting to week 11, week 12, week 13, your body starts to wear down. And I think also during the season is very crucial because these guys need to be lifting weights too. But we also talk about you don't want to be going too heavy, but you need to do some type of maintenance type work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And that, Dave, you got a question for Daryl?
Yeah, I just kind of want to go off what you were saying. So, training wise, off season versus now, how much difference would it be? So, like you said, I guess it's more of just maintenance during the season.
Absolutely. Yeah, like so you're not going to be going too heavy.
Hmm.
In the off season, we're going probably about 85, 90% of their max.
Hmm.
But during the season, I've talked to coaches before and probably 60, 65%. Um, Obviously you're not going to be strong as you were when the season started. It's just not physically possible, but you want to try to at least maintain 65 to 70% of your strength. Some guys are just freaking natures where they can do that and they can maintain more strength. But you gotta be careful because you're breaking your body down every week. Because you remember you're practicing every single day, and then
Hmm.
just sitting watching film, that's wear and tear, mentally, emotionally, and then also you got the physical wear and tear. So you got to be smart. And another thing I always talk to my athletes about is what you put in your body. Your
Hmm.
body's a temple. Like as we get older, as we say, you only get one
Yes.
body, right? You only get
Yeah.
one body. You can't just put crap in it. So you got to make sure you're eating right. You got to stay away from all those sugars and all the things of that nature. So you got to make sure you're eating properly, so that way your body is able to handle those Friday nights or Saturdays, whatever it may be.
You hear all this stuff about superfoods, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but for you, beyond protein, everybody, kind of understands you got
Yeah.
to get, that protein intake. But what are some of the foods that you would recommend to aid recovery of these young athletes?
Well, my kids call me Mr. Cheat Code. So I have every possible thing you can need. I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of teams over the years, and like I make sure all my athletes, whether it's male or female, they're equipped that everything they need. Whether it's proper hydration, we even have things that the halftime they can eat that are kind of sometimes you some. I mean, I was one of those guys. I couldn't really eat before a game, but then by halftime, once the adrenaline has died down a little bit and your nerves have dropped, like now you're actually hungry. But I have something they can put in their stomach that really doesn't fill them up too much, but it also kind of tricks the mind and thinking that you have something on your stomach, and it energizes you. So we have things that you take before the game, during the game, after the game, as far as recovery. But like we talked about, the protein and all that stuff is good, but you need to make sure, like whether it's the hydration stuff that I give my kids, whether it's the energy thing that I give them, you got to make sure the caffeine levels are we got to be very careful with those caffeine levels. And then, like Bruce, like you said, it has to be something more natural. Because a lot of times we take things and you have that get you high and that crash. The crash is what gets us when we're so exhausted. But most of the things like, we take, there is no crash to it, which is, I mean, like I've had to take a lot of different things and try myself because I figured if it works for me at my age, it's definitely going to work for an 18, 19, 17-year-old. So it's been very good with that. And, a lot of times I check on and say, how did it go when you took X, Y, and Z? And they're like, unbelievable. Oh, I felt so good, especially like the soccer players because of the amount of consistent running they do. In football, we get a little bit of a break, unless you're running like a no huddle type thing. But you got to make sure you're putting the right things in your body. And like I equip those guys with those things.
So talk a little bit about too the fact that you not only are training the athlete, but you have always seen, at least my visualization of how you do things, you always have a very good rapport with the coaches
Mm-hmm.
that these kids are playing for. Talk a little bit about the relationship that you have as this trainer of the student athlete, and then the relationship with the coach too.
Right. Well, I think that's key because what I like to do is, whether it's Wilson, whether it's YMS, Burst Catholic, Manheim Township, Manheim Central, Lower Dolphin, whatever school it is, I try to make sure, if I'm training a kid, I build that relationship with the coach because I'm like, okay, how do you guys do it at your program? Because I don't want to be that guy where, okay, when I teach my receivers, this is how we do it. And if they do it that way, that's dumb. Because what you do is you lose a lot of people. So I usually try to see, how do you guys do it? Whether it's a lineman or if a defensive back, okay, what do they teach you guys? Okay, so I'm going to make that way perfect. We're going to perfect that way. So I'm very careful with, how I do things, whether it's the lifting program, whether it's the speed, whether it's our change of direction. And I talk to the coaches. I think coaches really appreciate that because I'm not an ego guy. I'm not saying, oh, this is how I do it. The way you guys do it is dumb. I try to avoid that at all costs. And that's why I think it's been successful. That's why I can go to a program and stand on the sideline and spend time with the kids, and the coaches trust me because they understand. I understand their program, and it has to be their way. And all I do is try to implement my program into the way they want to do things.
Yeah, that's great. Dave, you got another question?
Yeah, just talking about that, it's really impressive because, like Wyatt Missing's obviously a different program
Oh
than,
yeah.
Another team that might throw. And I think that's important to build that relationship first with the coach and
Right.
learn their program and work with the kids. And I think that's what's made you so successful for all these years. And can you tell the fans like the area, where you actually, work with these schools?
Well, I work out of Spooky Nook here in Manheim,
Hmm.
which is obviously it's really easy to get to off of 283, but
Hmm.
Spooky Nook Sports. But a lot of times I've been fortunate, like Lampeter Strasburg and YMS have a big game this Friday, and I have kids from both teams. I have a great relationship with both programs. So, like I never, in situations like that, I don't root against anyone. I just want everybody just to be first and foremost healthy, and
Hmm.
and just play great football because great programs, great people, great coaching staff. You got a legendary coach over there. Coach at Lampeter Strasburg. I mean, he took over that program a couple years ago, and they haven't
Hmm.
missed a beat. They have a great strength program over there. We're Iron Pioneer, so they do a lot of good things. Twin Valley got a great relationship with coach there, and I mean, it just to see these programs. Manheim Township is rolling as usual.
Hmm.
Wilson, that game's coming up Friday too, so it's tough. So like I try to like when teams and players that they're playing against each other, I just usually stay home and watch it from home because it's tough because because again I really believe in what I do, and I really love the programs and the kids and the student athletes I have a chance to train. So like I kind of like stay out of the way. A lot of kids like, "Are you coming to the game?" I'm like, "Well, I haven't been here all year, and I really believe in karma." So I'm superstitious. I should say, not karma. So like if I go to the game, it's something I just like. If I haven't been there, I don't go. But it's just been very, very good. And a lot of times, like with a Manheim Central, like if I'm training the whole team, what I do is I'll go to the school, and sometimes I'm able to do that and make it easier for the student athletes to be able to get to the school. Because obviously it's easy to get there. Sometimes it is to get here. So, but it's just been very, very, very good. And then like, Bruce, as you know, like the relationship I have with college coaches. Now that has really, 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 really grown. Because of the success of the students, So now, branching off into field hockey and women's soccer and men's soccer and being able to build relationships like that. So now I'm trying to get to the point where no matter what the sport is, whether if I have a track athlete, I can call Delaware and I can call this school and say, hey, I got a guy, blah, blah, blah. I got a young lady. And the coach is understanding this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm just saying, I have an athlete. Can you please check them out? And that's all it's about, So it's been a really good relationship as far as that goes.
Wow, good stuff. So I have a grandson who is 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and my daughter, he's a big football player, and my daughter's like, "Hey, you got to call your buddy Daryl." I'm like,
Yeah.
Is that too young? Is that? I mean, what
Well, it
what is the
depends.
age that they would start with you?
It depends. I know you guys remember Brandon George, right?
Sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
So he has I think his nephew. Um, he came to me. He's 10 years old. What day was that? Monday. He's I think he plays for Wilson. He's in their program up there, I think, up in Reading. And he's a different kind of like that. I had him with another 12-year-old, and he's 10. And Dad's like, oh, what is he? Is he 12, 13? I said, no, he's 10. Dad said, oh my goodness. He's 10? I said, yeah, he's 10. So I think it kind of depends. And the reason why I try not to go too young because I'm so intense and I'm so passionate about what I do. I don't
Hmm.
want to be too much for a young lady or young man at that age. So, and I usually like in this case, I'll put it in your hand and say, well, what do you think? Because you know my personality, know I am. You're like, do you think it'd be too much? Or so it'll kind of be like that when I have um, a young athlete, 10-9. I have a 9-year-old. He comes with his brother. His brother's 14. He plays, I think, quarterback for Manheim Central in the C team or something like that. But he's a different athlete. He's very intelligent. He's already, so it depends on the student. I think that kind of determines whether or not whether I'll train that young or whatever. But usually about 12 years old. But like I said, I do have 10. I do have a 9-year-old. But mostly 12, 13 is where I start.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been great catching up with you, Didi. From afar, we've stayed in touch, but we're just going to have to get together more often.
Oh yeah.
A lot of great times, and we'll get you on the show here more frequently.
Some good tips for the fans would be great.
Right, and I think that's important. So I think the questions and stuff, and we've talked about it before. Like if I don't know, I'll tell my kids. If I don't know, I will get the information and I'll have it for you the next time we see each other. So but I think we always talk about people don't know what they don't know. So make sure athletes out there, make sure you're asking questions. If you're dealing with a trainer, I tell people we're doing something. It's okay to say what is this going to help with? Why do we do this? Just don't be out there just doing stuff just because someone's telling you to do it. Understand what you're doing. Make sure what you're doing is help you become a better athlete. You're not just out there just doing drills and just run around just because it's cool. Make sure whatever you're doing is going to make you better on the field or the court or whatever you're doing. Because I have basketball players too. So make sure everything you're doing is going to make you a better athlete. So just don't just spend your time just doing drills and doing things because it's cool.
Wow. Well, he's the 1994 Big 33 MVP, Conestoga Valley Hall of Famer, Syracuse alum extraordinaire. Yeah. And how many years did you play pro football? 3 years?
Yeah, three. I was very fortunate. Yeah, very
3 years in the NFL.
Wow.
There's nobody better to talk to young athletes and teams. I mean, even teams bring you in as a motivational speaker too, right?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I've done that. I've been to many schools, and that's been really cool. Doing that, just kind of sharing my story and just making the kids feel like this is not untouchable. It's very realistic, but then also trying to get them to understand that it's a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of things. I say when I first have a student athlete come into me, I always say, what does elite mean to you? Being elite, and they say, being the best athlete on the field and blah blah blah. I said, no. Elite is not just a word; it's a way of life. So I would say, so if I came in your room right now, how does your room look? And they go, exactly. If it looks like a pigsty, the parents are like, they're like, it's dirty. So being elite has to be a way of life. And before I even started this whole concept, I asked my dad, said, because I felt like I was that way. I said, well, was I as clean or am I misremembering? And my dad was like, no, you were so particular. Your bed was made up to the point, and your uniform, when I used to pack my bag for game nights at CV, everything had to be put in perfect. My shoes were clean, and then my gloves, I was very meticulous. But sometimes some people might have seen it as overboard. But in order to be the best and the best, your whole mindset, everything has to be elite, just not on the field. Your schoolwork, your what you eat. Your rest, how you take care of your body, it has to be a way of life. And that's what I tell people. And I think when I set the tone at that first session with that phrase, that sets us in motion, because I tell parents, if they don't want to do this, I can't, you can't take my joy, because I love doing it so much. I can't let nobody bring my joy down, because I'm so passionate about what I do and the results we get. So
Didi, I tell you what,
Great
man,
stuff.
good to see you again, my friend. All right. And
Same
we're going to
to
have to get you on here more often. All right.
Sounds
Absolutely.
good. Sounds good. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Have a
man.
good
Let's
night,
go ahead
man.
and exit out.
You guys too.
All right. See you
Take it
later,
easy.
man.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now. See you around. Take care. Wow. That's
Good stuff.
I have to remember that. Elite is a way of life.
It is. Not just on the field. It's at your home, in school, everything.
Wow. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Well, we'll try and get through this here. We haven't had much luck, but I think that was our final guest tonight. We're kind of like the airlines, I mean, you kind of overbook on guests because you usually don't have them all show up, but
it's all good.
all
So
good. And also, the final game there, talk a little bit about that. You talked about Easton and Freedom and
yeah, I
talked about our
mean,
final game there.
prep, coming off the Joe covered this game and he talked to Roken and he addressed the team about that LaSalle loss. And, I think this team is refocused. They're motivated. They want to have that rematch with LaSalle, which will be coming probably November 9th, um, with a chance to play Emotep and a chance to, go to Cumberland Valley. I think this prep team, you're going to see a different team from here on out.
I was so impressed with LaSalle. I mean, even though they were playing Father Judge, on Saturday. I was down there with our buddy Bob
Yeah,
Long and
I saw
broadcast the
that.
game. I mean, I had to see LaSalle in person. Really impressive team. I can't imagine what this rematch between this frothing at the mouth St. Joe Prep and LaSalle is going to look like. And that's all. Oh my gosh! And speak of the devil,
Oh, we got
it's
Bob Love.
speak of the devil. Speak of the devil, he
Guys,
just needs.
how are you?
Wow,
See,
Bob, what
we
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 were just talking about you.
we talk about LaSalle. We sent out the smoke signals, and here comes Bob Long.
Yes. Well, the little guy is down. I'm out on a walk with the dog, so I'm going to go ahead and not put my video on because you wouldn't see me out here anyways. But I wanted to talk to my guys here. I'm sorry I haven't been able to call in much this season, but I appreciate you jumping me in as soon as I called.
Well,
And
thank you
literally,
for
we were talking about Prep and Roman,
yeah
and talking
with
about the frothing at the mouth St. Joe Prep. Now and talked about LaSalle and pointing to this this gargantuan matchup coming up on November the 9th.
It's going to be unbelievable. I mean, I think from an interest standpoint, it's going to be as big in some regards as the state final, in a lot of ways at that 6A level, just in terms of the intrigue and is it going to be St. Joe's Prep to kind of regain that mantle that they not even said have lost, but that LaSalle has kind of joined them for the time being at the head table here in District 12. And it should be an unbelievable rematch. Certainly the best game of high school football that I've seen this year and in a long time, just in terms
yeah
of the level of football that was played and the fact that they are bitter rivals and the fact that it went to 4 overtimes. Hopefully the second one can top it. And we are guaranteed a second one. I know folks have asked that question, but the way it works in District 12 is LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep, if you can believe this, are the only two 6A teams in the Philadelphia Catholic League. Two pretty
yeah
good 6A teams, but the only two nonetheless. And so this matchup has been written in the stars and guaranteed since the beginning of the year. The only question would be which team is going to be wearing the home colors and which team is going to be wearing the road whites.
Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. And, reading Joe's article, he covered prep over the weekend. And, after the game, Coach Roken did address the team and said, listen, that loss was on me. I take full responsibility of it. But, we were talking before you came on that I think you're going to see a different prep team from here on out, and they're going to be very motivated now.
Now, let me,
If
let me just ask you what you mean there, right? I mean, do you think that the team that played in early October was not motivated, or when you say
No,
different?
I think they're motivated. They were motivated, but I think losing that game, um, I think they're motivated to, turn the tides this time
Sure.
and win this game. But
Yep.
listen, I've said to Joe many times, I know what his thoughts are, but you cannot count out LaSalle. And obviously you see him more than any of us. And year one, coach has done a tremendous job to prepare this team to beat, the team that's been king for a while, and that's St. Joe's Prep.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, you think about, I think a good example is the team that Bruce covers every week at the college level, Penn State, right? And for the years that James Franklin has been there, they have looked to design a roster that could compete with, and and not to say mimic, but to compete with and try to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? Well, it looks like terrific edge rushers. Funny enough, we're talking about guys like Abdul Carter, who played at LaSalle, right? But
Yeah.
to put together a type of roster that's going to compete with your arch rival at the college level, the interesting dichotomy is that Michigan, now not this year, but for the 3-year span leading up to it, kind of jumped Penn State. Not kind of, I mean, jumped Penn State
Did.
by trying to
Yeah.
build a roster that is effectively the opposite of Ohio State, right? And more focused on the offensive line, more focused on the running back. I know I'm kind of diverting away from the LaSalle versus Prep conversation, but to your point, Dave, about first year and what's allowed them to get to this point, a lot of these guys have been there for several years, but they've been put in different positions. They've certainly all matured a year. And I think both folks at LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep are really comfortable with the rosters they have, programs where they are, and it will be a burgeoning and continuing rivalry for years to come.
I agree. Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah, totally. And yeah, on that point, Bob, I mean, with how do you think Imhotep is going to, crash this 6A District 12 party, or can they?
Oh yeah, absolutely they can. I mean, the program that Devin Johnson has put together year over year is it really doesn't take a backseat to anyone. And quite frankly, if you were to look at this, almost like it's a 4-team bracket. Well, and this I don't want to be disrespectful to the second team out of the public league, of course, in the 6A, but you would think that on the weekend of November 9th, Imhotep's going to have an easier game, all things considered, than St. Joe's Prep or LaSalle will have. So you're going to, come off a Saturday game and have to play the following Saturday there. Imhotep will absolutely be watching film of both LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep with weeks to spare. Whereas St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle, there's no chance they have that luxury. 100% of the effort is going to have to be focused on that PCL opponent there. All that talent on the Imhotep side, there is no doubt that they have as good a shot, as just about anybody to win that district.
Yeah, it's really shaping up to be quite a next few weeks there in District 12 and the Philadelphia Catholic League, for sure. And and the thing is, and we were talking obviously when we were together Saturday broadcasting the game, and you asked me the question about what was the single takeaway for me from that LaSalle victory over St. Joe Prep. And I told you that I felt it basically gave 20 other teams in the state some level of hope. I mean, that that St. Joe Prep is not this unbeatable, machine that just like in the Rocky thing there, the Russian is cut and it's a bad one. Well,
Yeah. Well,
and
it was another pretty big, strong fighter that cut him, though, right? I'm
right.
not sure how many other big, strong fighters there are out there, but I hear your point loud and clear. I wonder, though, Bruce, if it isn't LaSalle elevating into that echelon versus St. Joe's Prep coming down any rungs of the ladder.
I would agree. Seeing them play and the depth of talent at literally every position, um, on that LaSalle team, and everybody was talking about the skill guy. What was I talking about in the broadcast? I was talking about the offensive line, on the fact of how Sidwar basically was untouched,
Yep.
and
And
what
that was
have you.
one of the question marks, maybe the biggest question mark coming into the offseason, not because there aren't talented athletes on that offensive line, because there absolutely are, but simply because that was the most untested and kind of novice unit in terms of playing time at the varsity level historically. And they've done a great job.
Yeah, they have. Dave,
Absolutely.
anything you want to ask Bob there?
No, I mean, it's a little early to talk about that game, knowing that, it's November 9th, but you know, one thing I'll just ask you is when they do play that game, how important is it for either team to jump out early and put the pressure on the other team?
Yeah, a great question. The next set of points that are scored in the first half of that November game between those two will be the first half offensive points scored
Yeah, true.
in either of the games, right? It was nothing
Yeah,
at half. So
yeah,
no doubt. What I would say there is I still feel the key to that game is what I thought it would be before the first game, which is I think LaSalle in some ways has an offensive advantage. St. Joe's Prep has some injuries now. LaSalle certainly does as well. Um, but I think the continued development of a super talented sophomore quarterback in Charlie Folk, right? You've seen getting more and more snaps. That's going to be really
yeah,
important. But on LaSalle side, it goes back to that offensive line because of how talented the front seven for St. Joe's Prep is, and it's going to be imperative for the Hawks to get Gavin Sidwar off his rhythm, because he's throwing it as good as anyone in the state
yeah,
right
he really
now.
is.
And his weapons, right? There's a hope that one of the key receivers, you guys probably both know who it is, but one of the guys that hasn't been playing the last 4 weeks, there's a hope certainly that he's going to be back for that game, and that's a big one for LaSalle. So both teams are getting hopefully a little healthier for the stretch run. I know both of them have battled pretty significant injuries, and I think those are the keys. Is Falk at the quarterback for St. Joe's Prep continues to improve and impress. Offensive line for LaSalle, St. Joe's Prep's ability to get pressure on the quarterback, and then special teams. I mean, I know I'm now listing a lot of keys, but St. Joe's Prep has historically had a definitive special teams advantage, and LaSalle, to their everlasting credit, matched that special teams, cohesiveness and effectiveness in game number one. And they needed every single one of those field goals and extra points to extend that to 4 overtimes.
Yeah, wow, 4 overtimes. That's just incredible. I mean, it will live in the annals of that rivalry, for sure. So,
Yeah.
but
I know that I have taken you guys off your agenda, and I know you had a bunch of guests, but I can let you guys run and finish. But I did want to call you for 10, 15 minutes and catch up.
Thank you.
and at the perfect time when we're talking
You
about
did
St. Joe
actually.
Prep. There must be something cosmic about, you
That's
calling
right.
in or whatever like that, my
You,
friend.
you
But
can thank my toddler son for going to bed a little earlier tonight.
There you go.
all
Thanks,
right, Bob,
guys.
listen, thanks a lot. Appreciate everything
See
you
you,
do, my
Bob.
friend.
Yep. See you guys
We'll
soon.
see you
Great job.
later. All right.
Yep.
Bye now.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Bye.
good stuff from Mr. Bob there. All right. Well, let's continue on here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we're
and we're
running over
finally
time again.
into the power rankings. Um,
Yes.
and we really didn't have any changes in the 1A, 2A. Everything is really setting up for a really gargantuan week 10. And then postseason, with the 1A, 2A teams, right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, these five teams have been pretty much up there all year, and you have Troy out of District 4 will they be the team to finally knock off Southern Columbia, and end their run? Riverside, District 2, Lackawanna Trail, District 2, then Schuylkill Haven putting up all those numbers.
They
Williams
actually had a tight
Valley,
game last week, Schuylkill Haven.
yeah,
I think they
against
with
Nativity.
Nativity.
They won, I think, last play of the game or something like that.
Yeah.
Close game. So,
So and that was one of the teams that we hadn't been talking about, Nativity. And I think I made mention of that a couple times. They've been having a really great season. So hats off to Nativity. 3A, 4A, a little bit of a change for me. Not in Danville, but with WYO, they've really showed their mettle over the last couple of weeks. The same thing with LS. They waxed Twin Valley, like former number one, beat them 62 to
yeah,
14.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Crazy.
was, I mean, I'm not surprised they won. Surprised they won that big. But I know you have Bonner fifth, and we've had Bonner a lot higher, but you have to look at who they're playing,
Sure.
They're playing some pretty good teams out of District 12 there, but yeah, I mean, these programs have been doing it. Why you missing, like we touched on, has a huge game this weekend.
Yeah, right. Why Michigan LS is going to determine number one seed in the 4A district power rankings in District 3. 5A, 6A, um, LaSalle, St. Joe Prep across the board. You guys have Imhotep. I've got CB South, Manheim Township, and the first 5A, and we've got a couple of 5A teams cracking the top five. You've got Chester as number 5, and I've got Strathaven.
Yeah, I mean, I Strathaven is in my top 10. The way I look at it, listen, LaSalle, Prep, MLTEP, three
There's only
of
one
the
coming out of that group.
there's only one coming about. But if all three, if the other two were in different districts, you probably have them ranked because, you take MLTEP that, you know, I mean, those three teams are pretty good.
It, yeah, and it is what it is. I mean, I hear all the time that there is a reason why, Imhotep is, up into 6A, and that is it just allows for one of those teams to come out, into the state tournament, each year there. So,
Yeah.
very interesting. So, some records and milestones, quick. Bonner
Y-
Prendy,
Yeah.
is Jalil Hall.
Yeah. Set a school record, career receiving yards. Now has over 1,400, almost 1,500, in counting. So look for him to add to that. And then in your area, Redline,
Yeah.
talk about him.
Yeah, Zaire Selby. That's pretty amazing stuff. And
36 points in that
Red
game.
Lion, not having the best season, but sure, a best maybe performance in District 3 this year, individual performance. Um, Darren Harris there for Chester. Um, 25 touchdowns. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, and he broke Mac Miller's record from 1998. It seems every week Chester, one of the players are breaking records. Deshaun Jackson's next. He became the first Chester running back to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in their history. And then this is eight-man football, first year out of District 1, Isaac Faulkner. He had 17 tackles in the game, which is now a record at the school. But we did a coach sent a little recap. They had to pick up a team late. A team dropped them. They had to go all the way up to Maine to play this undefeated team, and
Wow.
they won. So
Wow.
they finished the season winning three of their last four games. Not bad for their first year of playing eight-man football.
Incredible. Didn't really have any changes, not a lot of changes in the
Matt
uh
almost knocked off the fifth. He had
yeah,
425 yards, I think, this week, so he
yeah,
was close to taking that
close.
fifth spot.
Rushing. I forgot the zero out or unbold Cam
Yeah, there was
Small and
no
Caleb
no
Snyder.
updates there. Yeah,
Receiving, didn't
nothing.
really have any changes with that, but we did in interception return touchdowns. Gabe Duda for Honesdale, 99 yards. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
pretty rough when you got to like have a 97-yard interception return touchdown to get on the page.
yeah, I mean, we have three guys that have taken an interception 100 yards or more. Impressive.
And then field goals, the new one,
Yeah,
51 yards. Gavin Metzger for North Schuylkill.
not surprised. The kid's a really good kicker. He's the second player to kick a 50-yard field goal this year in Eastern PA. And he nailed that with plenty of distance left.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Games of note here. Week 10.
We already
Um,
kind of touched on
yeah, touch
the
that. We
first
didn't
one.
touch on Northwest Lehigh at Southern Lehigh. That's a big game.
It is. That's actually our D11 sports game of the week, Friday night. We're also doing Liberty Freedom Saturday, but I will be at that game Friday. And yeah, it's a big game. It's, Northwestern Lehigh travels takes their unbeaten record on the road to face Southern Lehigh. Northwestern Lehigh is led by their quarterback, Shane Lay from last year. He's over, I think, 18 touchdowns passing. But their star on both sides of the ball, without a doubt, this year has been Eli Zimmerman. He's over, I think, 1,200 yards rushing,
Wow.
15 touchdowns, and he has a whole, I think he set the school record now for interceptions. The kid could do it all. He could do special teams. He is definitely a triple threat. But Southern Lehigh, they're going to counter with their big tight end, Andrew Olish. He's the number one tight end in Pennsylvania, top three in the nation. He's, I think, a Michigan commit. He's got 33 touch or catches for over 600 yards.
Wow.
Big weapon. Colton Sam's 1,800 yards, 20 touchdowns. Look for him to try to find Andrew and try to keep that Northwestern Lehigh offense on the sidelines.
Yeah. And here's what we touched on. Number two in our power rankings, Riverside
Yeah.
is at Lackawanna Trail. Here we go. I mean,
Woo.
I think lots going to shake out after this one, Dave, right?
Yeah, and this is a classic, I think, running attack versus passing. Lackawanna Trail's gonna run it. Isaiah Rowan, I think, or Ryan, over 1,000 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns. Douglas has rushed over 500 yards. Their quarterback has only thrown for, I think, 350 yards. So they're gonna run the ball. Where Riverside, they're gonna spread it out and throw the ball. Um, so it's going to be a fun matchup. Single A versus double A. Kind of get both these teams ready for, districts.
Um, uh, Owen alluded to Springfield Delco at Strathaven, a big game. Um, Strathaven is on such a roll. And look, either way, these teams are the meaningful game between these two is really next month.
Well, yeah, and this is more, I guess, about seeding than anything. We'll be covering this game. We touched on this game earlier. Strathaven, there's no secret. They're going to run the ball. Green and Fisher have combined for about 2,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, where, Delco, is a little more balanced. They're going to throw the ball with Jackson Kennedy, run the ball with Brad Barber, Nate Romana, guys like that. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Going into districts again, because when you get into district states, you're going to play good quality teams from here on out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, a big one, Wilson Westlawn having, really kind of back to their glory days, and against Manheim Township for the Lancaster Lebanon League Section 1 championship. Also, this likely could be for home field throughout in the District 3 6A tournament. And, I'll actually be at that game
Mm-hmm.
and that. So, anyway, that's going to be really something. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously Wilson earlier in the year when they played Nazareth. Haven't seen Manheim Township live, but I just seen a lot of video and very impressed. They just seem to reload, as do
Yeah.
as Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wow, what a show.
Yeah, great show.
We
A
at least
lot
we
of
did get
different guests between recruiting, training, different things.
coaches.
Yeah, I mean, next week, with districts starting, we'll try to get a lot more reporters on next week in different districts to kind of break down the brackets. And, we'll be doing that all the way to Cumberland Valley.
And we want to thank Get Recruited Consulting,
Yes.
our buddy Andrew Cohen, and also
And
Coach
Justin.
Tools
Yep.
for helping, support the show. We always talk about support those companies who are supporting high school sports. And you're not going to find any better than with Andrew and also Justin there with Coach Tools and that. So, wow, what a show, Dave. I mean, it's one of the all-time bests. And we didn't, all we did get the District 1 power rankings, but, hey, listen, everybody will
Yeah.
know what's going on here, come Monday,
Well,
right?
and before we go, come on the site, over the weekend. We'll be working on brackets as games are available. We'll be putting them in the system, getting the brackets set, and I'll be, tweeting that out, putting it out. So take a look. You can go on the main page, click on the brackets, and you'll be able to see, all the matchups
All
statewide.
right, a jam-packed show. Dave, Micah, thanks so much, and thanks to the fans out there who stick with us here every single week on Fresh Set of Downs, presented by EasternPAFootball.com. So for my man Dave Micah, hey, I'm Bruce Badgley. Check us out next Tuesday. It's playoff time.